Hello, 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 my friends in Monster Land. And it's Tuesday night once again at the Untold Radio Network studios. And Real American Monsters is back in the seat. We're back in the chair. We're taking the star dates. And do we have a hell of a show for you tonight? I was just backstage just looking at these guys sitting in the background, and I just cannot wait. Tonight we have Mr. MK Davis, we have Mr. Ken Iddins, we have Mr. Don Marriott, and we have Mr. Don Monroe on the show tonight to talk about their expedition to Bluff Creek to find Roger Patterson's lair. So I'm very excited to hear it. We have video, we have audio, we have story after story from these guys, and it's very special to have Ken Iddins with us tonight because he doesn't really do this too often, and he took time to travel all the way down to Don's house to spend it with us. So it's an honor to have him here, and along with the others also. So it's going to be a great show. I'm looking very forward to it. So hello everybody, I'm glad you all can make it. Good evening, Blue-Eyed Northern, and good evening, BF Bud. Oh, the Squatch father himself is with us tonight, Mr. Alfred Santariga. Good evening, Mr. Randy Brooks. Miss Diane Fowler's with us. Oh, good evening, Francesca, you made it. I'm glad. Please, everybody, if you could keep Francesca in your prayers. She got a little incident. I don't know how much I could tell everybody. You could ask her in the chat, or just keep her in your prayers. Mr. Michael Haywood's here with us. Let's see. The Squatching Cowboy is here tonight. Everybody is pouring. Miss Wisbabs is with us, of course. So yeah, everybody's coming in. Mr. Michael Morgan. Wow, a lot of faces that we haven't seen in a while. This is and my wife is here even. Oh my goodness, Miss Maria Smith is with us in the audience. So it's exciting. It's exciting show. So without further ado, let's bring these guys out. We got to get this underway because they got a lot to tell, and we're gonna get at it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. MK Davis, Mr. Don Monroe, Mr. Don Marriott, and Mr. Ken Iddins. Hello, 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 all. How are you?
Well, we're good. Doing good.
You have to mention Chip.
Oh, I forgot Chip. I'm sorry. Chip is also with us tonight, folks. I'm sure if you've been following along
tonight, he brought the number 7 for good luck. He's been playing pool all week.
You lost Chip there for a while, didn't you? You didn't know where he was. You had to go find him.
Kidding. Up here in Montana, we get snow and the cold weather. We put things away, and they got kind of got under the covers, you might say. I couldn't find him.
Yeah, Chip is part of the Mutt Jeff series. So
we're gonna have Chip's girlfriend come on pretty quick. She wants to be on the part of the show too. So she's in the making right now. We're gonna have her come down and be part of this before it's over. You have a dual problem.
Okay, so we'll be anxious to see Chip's girlfriend later on tonight too.
Yeah, she'll be there.
What's her name?
We haven't decided yet. She's kind of coy about telling about their age or her name. They don't want to question a woman too much. You lose them.
Gotcha. So before we get started, why don't you guys just one at a time just introduce who you are, just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just keep on going. So let's start with the top left. We'll start with Ken.
Yeah, Ken Iddins here. I've been fortunate enough to be able to tag along with MK and Don Monroe on some of the outings, which has been fantastic. Tremendous learning curve with that. And then just connecting with other people with the same thoughts and the same similar experiences here in Montana with Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to refer to them as. So I get around it some, but I'm kind of a helper for them sometimes. They're the main guys.
Okay, Don, you're next.
I'm Don Marriott. I'm the new guy with the group. Don Monroe and I have done a little bit of exploring of caves and getting around. We have found some very interesting stuff for sure. For just an example, it's one of the things we found in a cave was an actual bed that was made out of ground fern, and you could say that possibly, you know, it could have been done by an animal or something, except it was all squared off. And that's pretty much a story in itself, but that'll cover what I got.
Okay, Don, you're up next.
Well, in behalf of these two fellows here, you heard from them. This story that he just told you in part is off the ground about 50 feet in a cave. We had Don's a repel expert. He's taught that in the Marine Corps. He's a pretty good repeller. And to get to this particular cave, I knew about it for 15 years, never went to it because I'm not a repeller. And I had to do it though. But we won't tell more about it than that right now. It's a story for the future. Perhaps it's quite hairy. And Ken here, and it's called Bear by nickname. And I call all kinds of names by everybody. But we are a team, and Ken is right. MK with us. We have had multiple numbers of experiences that hard to believe, in fact, and it's not over. And with this chip thing here, it's kind of important to bring out the fact that he's not exactly the prototype of all Sasquatch belief, but he certainly is close to some of them. So we think about this guy's reputation too, and his girlfriend coming along will be in the future. If we have a show with him on board, we'll have something to say again.
Yeah, she's under construction at the moment. All right, so MK, you're up next.
All right, MK Davis here. It's good to see these gentlemen through the miracle of electronic video and get back together again and do some reminiscing about some of those adventures out there on Bluff Creek. And to be honest with you, Bluff Creek is a strange place, and we saw some strange things. And fortunate enough to videotape.
Okay. So who was the one that decided to do this expedition? Who was the brains behind it? Who got everybody together and chose to organize this trip?
Well, initially, I was the one that brought out the point in the book had the story, and I have had a Patterson book, and I had two copies. One to MK, and I kept one. Still have it. But the book tells in there in the chapters, you read it, several facts. If you find those facts, you find out where he went to, and you know darn well it's true. And that Lair was not mentioned that way, but I knew the pipe went off the truck, and I had to roll down a mountain. It couldn't be picked up again. You don't pick up 60 foot of steel. And so we had quite a time finding it, but we did find it. And MK and I both agreed to go up that mountain to find the trail it was on. I call it Sasquatch Trail. It goes through a lot of wild grapes. And it's very steep. It's very hard to walk on it. Like I mentioned earlier to the guys here, the trail had no tracks on it of deer or elk at any time. We went there several times, and it was never had animals going on the trail. So it was a 1 foot over 1 foot, like you walk in Tibet, just like Indians walk.
Ken, how did you get involved in the trip?
Well, I've known Don since 1998 and have been with him on some of his excursions, Idaho, Montana border area. Yeah, we've just known each other at different events that we've been at, and he invited me along. So went down and jumped in the rig, and away we went.
I might add to that Ken's an exceptional person. He's got a lot of tenacity, a lot of savvy, and he's about a modern mountain man as they come. We're fussy about our people who go along. We have to be tight mouthed, and you don't tell.
Right.
You can't broadcast all these things too much, and people follow behind you in numbers, you know.
And there's a lot of aspect of trust.
It's also dangerous. Where we go, it's kind of dangerous at times.
You know, you're putting your lives in each other's hand on some occasions and situations, and you don't just do that haphazardly. At least not very often.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of trust going along with it.
Yeah. It's important to be able.
Some of his castings and stuff like that, and learned a lot from MK. He's a great tutor.
So was this the first time all three of you guys did a trip like this together? Was this the first expedition you all did together?
For the three of us, yes.
I think, yeah, it was. And then we did quite a number of them afterwards. It was the chemistry was just perfect. You could tell it was meant to be. Something just kept driving us to go up that mountain. It's when you're down in the creek bed, it don't look extraordinary. It just looks like a hill to climb. But Don and I, that was about our third trip. I believe
Yeah,
it was. The first one, I think Don slipped and fell over the cliff, and we tried it again. I think it was too many treetops, and then we with Ken we made it.
And I must add here too, MK, that we've been together about 20 years, and you and I, and I've done trips, and Ken and I have been together about that long too on other ones. But when I first met MK, he was, I knew he was Golden Man. I was Copper compared. And we had a radio show for a while, and we got the information on there out to the world for quite a few years. But with the trio we are, and I have been, we're real fussy who we tell where we go, because you might find beer cans along the way or something like that before it's over. So we don't tell exactly how to approach some places. But not to take the floor, but I think these guys here are credible enough to be called A number one.
Right.
And
ever since I've been introduced to all you guys, I have been absolutely fascinated with your journeys, with everything. I mean, I've got stuff from all of you. I got a hat from Ken. I've got castings from Don. I got files and files from MK. I've just been over intrigued by what you guys have accomplished, and most people these days don't even do that. Like Don Marriott, he's you guys are rappelling down into caves 50 feet down stone walls. I mean, there's not many people that do that or did that to do it anyways. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I give you guys a big round of applause before we get this started for everything that you've done, everything that you've gathered, and all of that. It's just amazing, and I can't wait to hear about more tonight. So, I just wanted to say that before we get going.
One plug-in before I start. I just came back from Oregon this week, and down in Sweet Home is the town adjacent to it, but down in Oak Ridge on the 11th and 12th of July, there's going to be a seminar down there by show going on, and I want to invite you down to it. It'll be a really good show. People come from Alaska and all around. Be Bob Ellie down there from Alaska, and it'll be myself down there probably if I can get down. I just hold down a bunch of posters with pictures of some of our adventures on it, and there'll be a lot of people there from everywhere. And Priscilla Davison's her name. You can get a hold of her on the internet and check out when, what for. But I'll invite you all down, because I'm not doing the show, but I'm part of it. I told her I'd plug it if I could. And it's July 11th and 12th in Oak Ridge, Oregon. It's down below Klamath Falls.
Okay. I'll make sure I'll put it in the description of the video after the show too, so people can.
It'll be a big event, because it's going to have Peter Byrne mentioned, and Ray Crow, and the ones people all know from the past years, and the ones currently on there. A lot of names on the list of speakers are all people who know something and can teach you something new, or at least analyze what's not new. But thank you.
Okay. All right. So MK, let's you be the guide through all this, seeing how you got the videos and you got all that stuff. So you start the thing, and then we'll jump to each person a little bit, and then we'll get their intake on stuff, and that's how we'll roll.
The video I'm going to show is a little different than versions of it that I've shown in the past. Reason I say that is I got a professional to get it directly off the tape and produce it in its sharpest form, and it's unedited, and it is just like it was taken. Let me ease over there.
Okay.
He's pretty smooth.
Okay, should be sharing whenever you
Yes, sir.
click.
I'm going to blow you guys up as far as I can. There you go. Just give us the whole screen.
Oh, raw footage. I'm going to ease forward just a little bit.
I remember.
All right.
The walking stick.
We know what that is. Now, this is a bare spot.
What we think is a pit area. Nothing.
The sand.
Nothing growing in
15
it.
foot square.
In relationship to the cable, which is laying over there, it's in position to be a candidate for that spot. But what's even more interesting here is something that we found around here. We found that someone has marked the spot. You'll notice this tree's been broke off.
More than one.
There's 3 notches and 2 slashes right here
Ken's been there.
on that tree.
We dug down in that sand.
Yep. Those are Sasquatch marks. Both ends of that grave area. That whole
And across the pit, if you look, this is the pit. These are similar notches. Move your stick there, Don. Move yourself a little bit. You will find a tree with similar notches on the opposite side of the pit. 3 notches and a slash. Very interesting. Different acres. And this is, I'm also zoom in on it. And this has been here a while.
Yeah, this one's considerably older than the other one.
where I found it was very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Ken and I and MK had a ceremony on there, Indian ceremony, in honor of what we thought was there. It's a no
I
more.
burned tobacco.
Hmm.
That rings a bell on Indian type.
Mhm.
Yeah. An offering.
Yeah, Don, speak up where we can hear you.
What do you want to hear?
What you're saying there.
Well, I told the boys here, I didn't know you could hear me, but those marks were made by some kind of an instrument. It wasn't a pocket knife. It wasn't a hatchet. We don't know what it was made by, but I think it's obsidian or something like that, because it's the way it's cut. It don't appear to be as slashed by hitting it, and it means something.
All right, here you go, Don.
Bluff Creek, California, October the 6th, 2008. MK Davis, Ken Iddins, myself, Don Monroe. These marks on the tree, and some you'll show you next, were not here, not noticeable last time in, but they were here. And they're significant of something unusual. And we don't know for certain, but this is a mark that's distinctive. And you'll see one back here across here next, down for you. That one there has one slash. That one back here. That one has one slash. This one has 2 slashes. We think that one's older than this one here. It's newer. Different seasons of visitation. And very likely this is indication the second time in. 1, 2, 3 on both sides is kind of like a hieroglyphic or a petroglyph of some kind of obscure primitive way. And the site we're standing on is the exact spot we had planned to take a look at with our sifters and whatever have you. Our trip in is very short. We have to accomplish very much. Time is wasting. I'll cut it off there. That's what I said there, but I guess I mean, that's the one I want to hear about. Fix this up.
Those trees were removed, the roots and all.
I'm gonna stop it just a minute. I just wanted to highlight the fact that that bare spot that we went and got some strips to test the pH, and it was alkaline. So we're pretty sure that it was a lime pile that had been down on the creek bed, that they had been using, the logging had been using it to firm up the sand so that they could get big trucks down there to get those logs. So that probably explains why there weren't any salmon in Bluff Creek, because they have to have that scent to make them go up. But anyway, that's speculatory. But this is an acidic forest. Everything's acid. But you see, that's why nothing would grow in that alkaline sand.
I got a question. Now, I'm sure you've heard that, people, I'm sure this has been brought up to you guys before and asked, but, people that work the forestry industry mark trees like that for, the end of the line, or this tree is no good. But to have them in such a short circle like that, that means that just eliminates that, right? Because they wouldn't be marking trees in a circle in this one little spot and marking them for don't go any farther than this. They would only mark the one tree, correct?
Yeah, and then they snapped it off right above the markings. It's just a short radius snap, with just the turn of the wrist. We don't think that the Forest Service did it. They destroyed not just these trees, but they destroyed a circle of trees. Were all snapped off. Some were bent into a formation. They were bent over. I have, let me see, some still photos. Hold on.
Okay, so how long were you guys at the creek for when you stumbled upon this?
Now I already knew that these were there the previous trip. We were going to come back to them. We had found them in. Oh, here we go. We had found them in back during August, and the fires ran us out. There was too many fires in that area, wildfires, and so we came back again in October. Take them. Here's some still photos. That's taken in October there. This is not the August photos.
Ken, what were your impressions of the trees with the notches and everything?
Who'd you ask?
Ken.
There
you are.
There I are. Yeah, just interesting. I mean, who, what, and why? There's no definitive answer, to my knowledge, with it. That area of sand was about 16 foot by 16 foot, and very, very little grew in there. And of course, now you're technically about right at 40 years past the Patterson film. Like I say, lye for the roads. If you want to dispose of something, lye is also a convenient tool to use. And again, don't know for sure. If you wanted to bury something and get rid of it and cover it with sand, that would be a possibility with it, but there's no definitive thing. Don and I dug down a few feet to see if we could maybe find anything, just exploratory. But we got down about 3 feet, and then you're running into subsurface water, so we just had to quit. We didn't really find anything on our dig, but it just leaves big question marks in your mind. What could have happened way back then?
I want to add one thing to that. The timber cruisers of today use paint on the trees more than cutting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm making it back to where I was.
There we go.
Now we're going to go look at the fetus, or what could be a fetus.
Now, how did you guys stumble upon this? Did Don find this in the creek?
No, it floated up to me. It was floating down the creek. I saw it.
Yeah, how far do you think it is across?
15 feet.
It came to
50
me.
feet.
There we go.
The stream next to the rocks on the shoreway.
Hey, Don, Ken, y'all comment on it.
Take it back to whatever
Okay.
reason.
Well, am I ready for that? Anyway, that fetus right there, I was in the water up to my waist, up to my navel.
No, I have no idea.
Water flowing by about 2 miles an hour. And that fetus came over and bumped into my jeans in my pocket. And I reached down and picked it up, and I didn't know where to put it. It was wet and it was fresh and it was a shock. And I said, holy smoke, and then we lost it in a short time and nowhere to put it. And I had to cross the stream yet. And it wasn't more than 20 minutes later, we couldn't find it. Well, we had nowhere to put it, so weren't prepared for that. But it was definitely coming down the stream from a very close by spot to where Patterson and Patty cross. And also the movie you'll see where we come upon the group on the film, and you'll see later on where you filmed our Sasquatches in numbers.
Here we go.
All kind of abstract
And that's something else.
anomalies.
Here we go.
Do we know? We do not know. Ken says,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll come across and get it. It's a fetus, Ken.
Yeah.
Really quite a shock.
I don't know anything about fetuses. It doesn't have any limbs. It's too young to even have limbs.
It wouldn't be more than 6 weeks old. It's in my estimation. I don't think
It's got an umbilical cord.
in the long, it would be more than 6 inches long. I'll take that off.
Can't tell really.
You're the most doctor guy along. Who tell us about it?
Dr. Ken.
Dr. Ken?
There's yeah.
Oh,
There you go, Don.
It's in a sandwich bag.
I'll let him seal it. I'll take to him.
did that ever make it out, or that just got lost in the shuffle down in there?
I think it was discarded.
Shortly afterwards.
Real small.
You forded the stream and know where to put it, and then it got lost. I don't know how it happened, but it did.
Yeah, I always regretted that. I sometimes think we should have just. Now that right there is some heavy logging cable. The Patterson film site was a logger's landing. It's where they pull their trucks down and loaded them up, and you can see the heavy cable there.
Piece of logging cable. And days gone by, laying in the bed of the stream. You see it up farther down.
That
by my leg.
film too.
In the stream bed there.
After the line, so people are taking them there. They didn't know that.
Is this the trip where you caught the one on the side of the creek? Is this the trip that you guys were on?
There's a stop right here.
Eating a towel or whatever it was on the rock?
Way that far beyond the Patterson thing.
It is, but
The size of it.
I'll comment on that a little bit later. Hold on.
Close to the place we found the trip group.
Let me move on through this.
So, what kind of signs are you guys looking for at this point? What do you? I know you're there to get the Sasquatch, to try and find.
I was doing this right here is where this is not a Sasquatch track. I was doing some experiments to see, learn a little bit about the mid-tarsal break, and if it was something that naturally occurred, or was it something only Sasquatch did. So I had that opportunity to be right there in that same substrate. Let me move on through that. You see that my foot, I've been accused of being part Sasquatch. My feet are so flat.
Yeah.
He probably could be.
You see that? How wide it is and the heel?
Yep.
That's just, maybe I am. I don't know.
Well, that's what's going to happen to you if you walk around a lot with no shoes on, or your feet's going to flatten out.
And you start to grow hair all over your body.
So what were you guys following on? Were you looking for tracks? Were you looking for structures? What was guiding you guys through the
Okay, you see the water down here?
That's where we dug in.
That you go down that far and the creek backs up in there. So we learned that.
We're trying to find tracks. We're trying to find evidence of food. We're trying to find berries and things that they can eat. We're trying to find wild grapes and all kind of stuff. And it's all there.
Let me ease on through here.
And more to Sasquatch than just tracks.
Right.
Yeah, looking for broken limbs, any limbs set up like a shelter, like a teepee type.
Found that
just,
too.
Just anything you could find.
Trying to find twists.
So you're trying to keep an open mind and observe any and everything, because so many people will look, but
I really appreciated this, Ken.
It was important.
Yeah, it was important.
I had brought tobacco with me, and this is a tobacco offering to whatever was there, out of respect. Whether there was anything there, buried or anything otherwise, but just to honor. If you go back into history, the way the Indians do a lot of burning of tobacco as offerings, the four directions, their spirits, whatever else, that's what this was for. It was just an offering and a sign of respect.
You find the food chain of any animal, you can find the animal. And you find the food that they require and they repeat for it, go back to it. Extra one thing, but finding a food source.
So the scat you guys showed earlier had a lot of hair in it. It's way too big for a dog. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I will say this much. I'm not going to take the floor, but I've done a lot of casting, and I mean a whole bunch of it. And those are definitely not dog tracks. That's for sure.
And a lot of stuff with relations between Native Americans and Sasquatch going back years and years, hundreds of years, whatever else. Native Americans burned a lot of tobacco. And intertrading with the Squatch or giants or whatever else they done, they may have some, would have had awareness of some types of offering. And so again, this was just out of respect for whatever spirits or whatever else was there. Some people will poo-poo it, not think much of it, but they need to open their mind and be a little more receptive to something like this. It's part of their culture and their heritage.
Yeah. Yeah, they just didn't make it up, it was significant. I used to leave it at my area that I traded with them all the time. I would leave tobacco on top of the
Yeah.
Native American culture fits in this Sasquatch church quite a bit.
So what was the first the first shore sign that you guys seen when you were out there of a Sasquatch? What was the first aha moment that you knew they were still there?
Tracks.
MK, would you tell them about the song you heard? The music?
Oh, you talking about the chanting?
Yeah, would you tell them about that? That's very important.
Yeah, this was on another trip. We were at Louse Camp. And this was like in the middle of the night. I woke up, I could hear this chanting. More than one voice, but the same song. Okay, this is the
Over.
Culvert.
Culvert. Yeah.
How far up the hill we say we are, Don?
That's a pipe right there.
You know, in terms of distance.
All right, MK, can we pause it here for a second?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's tell everybody about the culvert, the story. I mean, Don just briefly touched on it. I mean, Don can tell it again. Don, tell everybody the whole story about the culvert.
I went inside the pipe halfway through where it broke in half, and it was dirt come into it over the years, and it's about 25 feet up the hill to where the road was built at one time and was covered with trees, so aftergrowth. And inside the pipe was a comfortable place to sit down. There was ants jacks, you know. There was a place they sit down in that place in there, and I'd eaten acorns. Well, outside behind my back there, about 25 yards, there's an acorn tree, and I went in there and I saw a bit in half in there, and the dirt rolls downhill in the rain and goes in that crack on the back of the pipe and makes a place to sit down in there. So it became a place I know that the Sasquatch had been in there because mud was tracked into it. And they all peeked in the pipe after I got in there. But
all those little specks on the ground there are acorns.
Right.
And they attract a lot of things.
They ate those acorns because they bit them in half inside the pipe back in 25 feet probably.
Right. So just reflect on this in the book, you know, the part of the book about the culvert before we move on. That's, you know, just let everybody, again, tell everybody that just tuned in about why you guys are looking for these culverts.
To prove the book, to prove the story. And it does prove it. It proves that Patterson wrote one book and it's all true. And that pipe was the key to it, like the key to Rebecca. That told you that there's no chance of it being a fantasy story.
All right. So
yeah, Don, how long would you say that pipe was, Don?
60 feet.
Nah, it didn't throw itself down
the book tells that too. It was on a truck bed, and that Sasquatch boarded the truck and threw it off the truck. So I knew with my experience in the woods that it wouldn't go very far. And I told you, remember telling you we could find the pipe. We'll find the Sasquatch come back regularly. Come back there. And they do. We found in our trips back up there several times that they have came back and forth.
On the aspect of picking up something heavy, I had talked one time to a fellow, and his father, 50 some years ago, had worked in logging camp routines around the Dalles, Oregon, but on the Washington state side. And his dad came in with a logging truck and had a load of logs on it, but he had to go up to download them and to turn around the truck. And they stopped him. Says, you can't go up there. Something's bad going on. And it has happened. And he says, I can't. I have to go up. Only place I can turn around. And he drove up, did his turnaround. And what had happened up there, some of their equipment had been tossed around and disturbed very badly. But a couple of 55-gallon oil drums, which will weigh 450 to 500 pounds, had been picked up and tossed off the landing down the hill. They didn't roll down. They were picked up and tossed. And so, yeah, the strength, as many viewers I'm sure are aware, there's tremendous strength going on with the Squatch, the hominids that they are. So a piece of culvert like that, probably not that big of a deal to a good sized one with the strength.
Right.
Tremendous.
I have never seen anybody else post the pictures of a culvert at Bluff Creek. I mean, there might be, but I have never noticed anybody else finding the culvert.
That's 35 feet off the road.
Yeah, you have to go up the mountain about 1,500 feet. If nobody wants to do that, then they'll never see it.
Gotcha.
The Siskiyou mountain range that this is a southern part of is very, very steep back in there. You just about have to be a billy goat. It's just very steep.
45-degree angle on the whole walk is 45-degree angle uphill. And it's very narrow trail, and you cannot do it. I broke my shoulder the first time up there over a cliff 50 feet high, and that's another story. But, of course, a miracle I lived through that. But We went back anyway, and we did go back up, and it's still a treacherous trip. I wouldn't suggest it for anybody who wearing tennis shoes, that's for sure.
All right,
I'm gonna start it back up.
Yep, go ahead.
Up on the side of the hill, you see that this is not virgin country.
If they wanted to call in, get out of the hot, get out of the
I mean,
rain.
anything could use them too, cats and whatever, you know.
Now watch what this gentleman does. He can't stay out of it.
What are you seeing, Don?
What does
He crawled in.
I'm surprised this film's here.
Let me zoom in on it. I don't know if I can get in that low light or not. How's that? Is that rocks or is that something else? Got my darn lens cap on. I'll go back there and see that is. Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me zoom in. You get zoomed past you, Don. I can't do it. It just the light's not any good. Can you get a light on it a little better? So it doesn't the telescope doesn't project what you see.
Don, what's going through your head crawling through this thing? Something could be living in there. There could be a
Like
mountain
rocks,
lion in there. What were you thinking?
Take a look. We'll stick to one side a little bit. Is that inside the pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you thinking in there? You were thinking, you know, like
Well,
I
I'm
said.
not concerned about that. I mean, I could tell there's nothing in there. It could see quite a ways, 20 feet ahead. I carry the difference anyway, so if something come along, I could probably coax them out of it.
You can see that's his silhouette up in there.
Nobody else crawled in there yet that I know about, and I did ask him to come
Hey,
in.
Don, that looks like a Sasquatch.
Well, I think I've been accused of being worse than that.
Not even I've done.
Could be Chip.
Yeah.
Well, Chip could be along next time, but that have wheels.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait till you see Chip's girlfriend. You'll never believe it.
So this goes back to the beginning when I told everybody that, you know, you guys don't, you just not, they broke the mold. Not a lot of people will do this any longer.
Watch this. This is how steep that ravine was when we came out on the logging road. Watch.
Okay.
See it? It's almost straight down.
From Bluff Creek down this ravine.
We just
up this
mountain
ravine.
climbed up that
You're
thing.
looking down it.
Yeah.
Up this ravine.
It's just
All the way up to this old
nasty.
cat skinner road, this logging road. That's on the side of the hill.
MK, tell them about falling down yourself on the hillside and going down 50 yards
Was
and over that cliff.
with a lot of.
Yeah, I just managed to grab a tree. That's all. Only thing saved me.
See, it's an old road. Goes around here, down in the culvert, down the gully there.
BF Bud asked in the audience if was there any kind of a smell inside there?
Road from Washington.
No, that's something else. The odor of Sasquatch, often mentioned by many people, it never has prevailed to me very often, never had any problem with that kind of thing. And I thought the same thought because I didn't have any problem in there with any kind of a foul odor that would be objectionable. I didn't have that. But there was also aeration in that cave because the broken pipe had air coming in there from both ends. So it was very livable in there for sleeping. If you want to sleep overnight, would be no problem. It wouldn't stay there.
So other than it being dumped over that bank, it really had no reason being there. It did
No, it
nothing
was
for
straight down on a 45-degree angle, about 35 feet. You couldn't bring it back up. There's no way you could do it.
So,
And
I
then
mean,
the
hey,
mountain itself was
hey, John.
1,500 feet above the creek.
Before we go on with that, I'm gonna review a couple of other instances where they were notched trees, and this occurred in 2015 when I was down there with these Japanese filmmakers.
Dawn.
Hold on, there we go.
That tobacco was burned. Didn't we experience something? There was something happened, or I don't remember.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
went to the Indian and asked him what we should say, and he said, anything you say, white man, would be just proper.
Oh,
We suspected his body. There may have been.
Now, Don wasn't with me on this trip because he was at Ray Crow's funeral. You recall, don't you, Don?
Yeah, well, Yep.
Yeah.
Ray Crow is a person we should mention another time. I'm going to take down to the Oregon meeting down there some of his literature and also his pictures, and Peter Burns will be mentioned down there too. And those fellows who earned it, they're icons of the Bigfoot community. You know, myself.
Look at that. These are the notches. They were on both sides of the tree. Can you see them to the right of that rock formation?
Yep.
You see where they had cut. There's 2 trees. They had cut 2 notches in.
The Sasquatch have a language of petroglyph, and might say that, and also with their own kind of markings on trees. I know they're born one kind, and especially the twists. The twists are done a certain way. There's no doubt about it being done by them, because people don't do it that way. And
when Ken and I went down there in 2012, those original trees that we found around the pit there, they had been pulled up by the roots, root ball and all, and done away with.
And you might add to it too, MK, that those branches broken on those trees you see upright, there's a number of them were broken off, but they were at least 8 to 10 inches thick. Just broken right off, snapped off.
When we went back in 2019, this right here was destroyed. This rock formation. Let's see.
Now that's if I hurt my ear real bad.
So what were you guys thinking after you found the culvert? Were you guys excited? Maybe you've proven that a part of the book was 100% real and you guys discovered the culvert? Is that what was going through your minds at that moment in time?
Well, I'll say something first. I was cautious because you find all the activity we found around the thing, and including bones and also eaten material and
y'all see that? See that notch on the side of the tree?
You're cautious because the creatures could be watching us the whole time and not knowing what they'd think about us being there.
They undoubtedly were watching us.
Yeah, they just.
You saw 3 of them there, didn't you? On this trip here, the one in 2019, went down there with Dennis Guern and Eric. You saw 3, didn't you, Don?
Yeah, I did see 3. That was not too long ago. But that story can be believed or not. But I think it's the same. The same person might have been with them. The baby we thought we saw down on the film you're going to see if MK shows the film. It was years went by, and one teenager was along with the parents, followed me out. I was carrying a backpack for the guys all sick, and I had to sit on a rock for a while to take a break. And the backpack on the back was adjacent to me and holding on would balance me more or less. But here came these 3 walking up the trail, and I dropped off 5 pieces of food for them, and they brought 3 of them along, and there's 2 of them were still left behind. Later, I found out 3 of them picked up 3 of them, left 2 behind, which also indicates it's not a new thing. They're kind of halfway congenial with their taking the food from you. They don't take it all.
You see how they destroyed that formation? It's been tossed around, kicked, or whatever.
I've noticed over the years, if you discover something of theirs and they're there watching you, the next time you come back and you see it again, it's taken down, it's dismembered, it's
well, they must have seen us then.
Yeah, that's a good chance of that.
Let's see here.
We've seen Sasquatch here more than once.
So when you guys were there, did they start presenting themselves to you? Were they making vocals? Were they doing anything like that? Throwing stones? Did you notice any of that activity?
I did. I mean, I didn't notice it, but I found it on the film.
Yeah, we did have one night. Ken was with us. We had my suburban car. We pulled into the place to park it, and 2 rocks came flying down the road, the trail, and bounced down by the car. And also they tossed a container that held film against my car, and it wasn't done maliciously. It was just to say hello.
Well, that film canister was old.
Yeah.
we were well into the digital format when that occurred.
There's no,
I guess it just it possessed it or kept it.
all three was surprised that would happen because it was not malicious. It was just kind of thrown tenderly toward us, you might say that.
Okay, now this right here, after we went on top and found the lair, I panned across this guy, and I didn't see him. I didn't pay any attention. I was busy staring at a waterfall. And to this day, I don't know what made me stare at that waterfall.
The leaves just beginning to turn.
There he is.
Yep.
See that broke off limb right there?
Yep.
You can hear him break it off while I was filming that stupid waterfall.
With that, albeit you would.
You never know what you miss when you're looking. But it is a pretty waterfall.
Here he comes again. I'm slowed down.
That's when that.
See that tree laying down right there, just like at the bottom of the hill.
He didn't tell us about this.
Right.
Till now.
You can see his the hairline.
Oh yeah.
I saw three of them at one time.
With that, albeit you would.
Now let me go. I'm gonna play the limb. You can hear the limbs breaking. Listen.
All right, I'll turn it up, but nobody talk or else it'll get real loud on here.
All I can do is apologize for it because I can't believe that I didn't turn around at the sound of those limbs breaking. It's just unbelievable. Here's some black and whites using filtration.
He never told us about this.
I didn't know it.
He sent text pictures.
Those
It's about a year ago.
that's what I'm so upset about is that I loaned it to somebody thinking there wasn't nothing on it but scenery, and it took me 7 years to get it back, and this was on it.
You can even see it come down the other side of the tree too.
At the same time, that guy took that film. I told him.
Well, that's a terrible mistake. I want to tell everybody that's listening, if you get some kind of seminal Bigfoot evidence, you have to keep the chain of possession duly recorded, where you can't let someone just have it and for an undisclosed amount of time. If you do, it's not going to be worth anything. You see that tree broke off right there in the front, and you see the rest of it laying along the bottom there. Hold on. I had a little sugar alarm there. Well, I don't even want to say you live and you learn because I ain't brushing it off like that. That's serious business. We risked our lives to go up there. And I just, I don't want to sound too self-deprecating, but I could have done better than that. But I don't know why I was staring at that waterfall. I was just like mesmerized by that trickle of water. And it's over here busting these big trees.
And you're somehow, some way they can manipulate. I don't know how they do it, but
It must be something like that.
It's kind of like telepathy.
Here's a brightened version. That's brightened up. You see the tree broke off just like at the bottom of the hill. It popped that tree off with a sharp crack, with a wrist.
Yeah.
Short radius, they call that.
do you think he's facing you, or do you think he's walking away from you and just frozen because he knows that you're checking him out now?
That's a good question, because it's got a lot of leaves and stuff. I don't know that's a face or whether that's the back of his head.
Makes sense because it's snapped, and if he was walking that way and snapped it and kept on walking, I don't know.
I've decided to stay out of it because I'm so ashamed.
Well, you eventually found it, so that's all that counts, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but it could have been better.
All right. So when did you get the one on the side of the creek there? How did that come about?
Well, this in the same trip, and when we got down to the bottom, and let me tell you, let me go back. I asked both of these guys if that could be them. I asked them, and to the point where they were getting mad at me, because it's like questioning somebody's veracity. You got to stop asking after a while. But the chain of possession, and somebody brought it to my attention that it was a lot of the chain of, during that 7 years, we don't know who got this film. That was just a terrible mistake. Don't assume you don't have Bigfoot on there. Look it over really good, and don't let the chain of possession get away from you, because people can say anything about it then.
That's what's going on with the hum. We talked about that hummingbird hum thing, and now people are going back and listening to all their old footage in their areas to see if they've captured that the 40 hertz hummingbird hum in these areas. So
some have, hadn't they?
Oh yeah, we've gotten quite a few back that match perfectly. So it's something.
Okay, now I'm going back. There's one more thing I wanted to show. Now, this was found on a trip, the previous trip before we made this trip. And Don wasn't with me. I had someone else with me at the time. But we had a sighting on the film site. This was just downstream of the film site.
I haven't seen it.
It's a stack of rocks in the bed of the creek. There's a little pebble on top. And when you boost the contrast, you see fresh sand on this rock and a palm. See, that's all a palm print.
Oh yeah.
And we knew there was somebody down there, and then we heard a loud crack of wood on wood, and I looked under the brush, and I could see a figure walking along the hillside. So what does this mean? I went and looked it up. I don't know if this is the explanation or not. But it means 21 means this is the trail.
That's right.
See the stack, like it's similar.
That's the way of doing it.
A stone on top of another stone tells us that this is the trail. Well, at that time of the year, they come out of the high Siskiyous and they go down to the Klamath River to get salmon. And they do it twice a year. and they follow Bluff Creek all the way to the Klamath. And apparently they leave stuff like this for others to find. This is the trail. Makes sense to me anyway.
Now you mentioned earlier with the lime and the salmon not being that far up the creek, and they have to go to a different spot. I think that was done on purpose to keep them away from the logging area, possibly, or keep the bears away, or any kind of animal that was eating them salmons, keep them downriver.
That's a good question there. I don't know. Accidentally or on purpose, it served the same purpose. There hadn't been any salmon since then.
They killed 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
There hadn't been any salmon in Bluff Creek since those days. It used to have salmon in it. All right, onward we go. Okay,
Right.
now I've got several other things that it's up to Don. Don, are you up to describing what happened to you when you were either tossed on your ear or fell on your ear?
That was, yeah, sure. I was on that last trip about 2022, was it? I forget what year it was.
2019, 19, I believe.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was walking along about third man back, I think, at the time. And all of a sudden, I didn't see myself go, but I fell, of course. People say they looked like I'd been pushed. Well, I didn't know I wasn't, but I did fly about 6 feet or so into the rocks. And I
Don, you
left
dove
ear.
like I ain't never seen you dive. I mean,
it was pretty bad smack up, and when I came back out of there, I took care of it, but went down to get some gasoline in the car, down on the highway, and they turned me into cops because I had a bloody ear, and the officer chased me down, and I want to know if I'd been in a fight or something. Well, of course I could have been, but in that part of the country, there's no doctors around there. There's no doctors and no hospitals, so I said I'm going to drive to Oregon and get this thing fixed. But that was a strange incident.
Yeah, take a look. We'll watch it.
Oh, I'll tell you on there too.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was on
here. If you can turn this sound up, you'll hear a grunt. It's not coming from Don. You hear it? Let's do it again.
I didn't know I had this film.
Yeah, try turning yours up a little, MK.
Yeah. It completely caught Don off guard. He just heaved upwards and then onto his ear. Here we go. Here.
Yeah, that's not a fall. That's like, Don, did you feel like anything pushed you or anything? Now, he got bloodied up pretty
Watching
good.
this film the first time I ever saw this, and I don't remember looking back over my shoulder. Something was bothering me. And all of a sudden, I flies in the air, they said. I didn't see it happen yet. He might have a picture of it. I'm surprised how much film he's taken. But anyway,
I had a GoPro on top of my head on my helmet.
Well, I didn't know that.
It was running anywhere I looked. It would film.
I know I felt like I'd been followed, but I didn't know what to say about it because I don't get frightened very easy. But all of a sudden I flew.
Man, did he hit hard.
Yeah.
Is that show me falling down?
Yeah.
Something with force. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa.
there you go.
Cracks his head right on that log. Stick, whatever.
I still got a problem out here a little bit. It's still got like a wrestler, you know what I mean? cauliflower ear a little bit.
But Don, that's not the first time that or the last time that you got pushed or something like that. You got pushed off the mountain one time at Bluff Creek too, right?
Yeah,
Backward.
I also got pushed over in Montana and Idaho too one time. I was along out in the desert. I got pushed into a mud puddle one time and I lost my pistol. I come back in 2 weeks to get it. But that was another story. But I felt like something was there. I was
at Bluff Creek, didn't you get something like you were going up the mountain and something MK told me, he said he turned around and looked like something picked you up underneath your arms and pushed you backwards.
Yeah, well, something did. I don't know what it was. I wasn't drinking, that's for sure, and you know, and wasn't.
It's something very strange going on down there.
The Bluff Creek is a strange place. There's many things there you got to understand. We've seen a lot of things happen down there.
Now this is a graphic image, but you see how it tore that loose? I mean, he hit really hard.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a wonder it didn't break his neck.
Well, I got lucky, that's all.
Well, you want to call that luck? You don't need a whole lot of that kind of luck.
Well, I mean, I've fallen before, but never twice the same way. Right on.
That's a fact.
So if you guys are going to have questions here, I will star them, and we'll get back to them once we get to the end of the clips here, and then we'll let these guys answer some questions, and then let them get on with their night.
What I was attempting to do when I put all these together was to make a video that I called Weird Bluff Creek and the Paul Freeman footage, which is also weird. And then I just kept adding to it. This is where I got sick from picking up mucus with my bare hands out of the Bigfoot track. This was when I was with those Japanese guys. Let's see.
Is that Japanese film available?
Yeah, that's one of the tracks right there. It's 4 inches deep.
You might tell them about the time you wanted to see how far you make a track in the sand. You jumped off of a rock with a backpack to make your impression in the sand to see how much weight they weighed, because we want to see why they followed you around.
See where it broke that great big stick right there? Yeah, man, this was something now. It really was. And that shook those Japanese guys up because they were tongue in cheek until they saw this. But this is what happened, and I didn't know it happened. And I came home with a raging fever. I stayed sick from October until the next February.
Yeah, he was sick. There's some kind of bacteria there or something.
It was something like that. I'm going to find it. Leaf grab, HD snot wad.
See, that is full of leaves. See? Full of leaves. Let me get this out of here. でもまあ確かに今できた感じには見えないは見えない。
Don't do that. I hate to see me do that. Look, you see it right there. Yeah.
Hate to see this.
Okay, wait a minute. It was more.
See, that is full of leaves. See? Full of leaves. Let me get this out of here. でもまあ確かに今できた感じには見えないは見えない。ちょっと乾燥してますね。はい。濡れてはいない。
Now I'm gonna get it and oscillate it and just take a look at what I did. This is a still. There's the mucus laying in that leaf. You can see where that other leaf had been on it.
He's darn foolish to handle that stuff. Boy.
Well, I didn't know until he grabbed it,
It's not grab. Maybe that's it.
You can take a look. right here and see that it's full of leaves. See? Full of leaves. Let me get this out of here. でもまあ確かに今できた感じには見えないは見えない。ちょっと乾燥してます。
Lord. There it is, right there. See it?
濡れてはいない。
Do you think it has to have anything to do with that stuff they leave on windows and stuff?
I don't know. I don't know, but it was in the bottom of a Bigfoot track
Right.
at Bluff Creek. And I reached and got it with my bare hands and didn't even wash my hands. I stayed by the you know what the smoke from the campfire does. It drifts right in your eyes, and then you rub them. I put it all over me.
Gotcha.
So I could write a book on what not to do at Bluff Creek.
That's right.
This is one of them. You definitely don't do this. Let's see.
You can take a look
I did it.
right here.
Made
and
several
see that
versions
it's
of
full
this.
leaves. See? Full of leaves.
He leaves out a lot of story. Has a lot more
Let me
stories.
get this out of here. でもまあ確かに今できた感じには見えないは見えない。ちょっと乾燥してますね。はい。濡れてはいない。
At times you don't even think about what you're doing.
見えないは見えない。
You just don't want to do that. Here we go. I slowed it. See, I reached. See it shaking the leaf? It's
Yep.
mucus.
濡れてはいない。
Ah!
You know, there's the track.
This is where I stomped, but at that
I'm gonna
beside
try
that track.
Make a track as big or deep.
You got to hear his chicken story sometimes. That story is hilarious. I had a radio one time. People come load in.
Ken and Don, you guys are bear hunters. Have you ever seen anything like that in a bear track or anything like that out in the wild? That
No.
No, I've done a lot of bear hunting, and I usually wear clothes though. But you know what? I never saw that.
No, nothing like the mucus membrane type stuff in a track. That's extremely unusual. And I'm sure
That's
I'm
some
sure-
of the tracks. Look how deep they are.
and I'm sure it's not too common with the Bigfoot either, but obviously it does happen.
Well, what amount was there? Was it how much an ounce, or how much was it?
Oh, I'm just looking at this video. It's at least a thimble full, a large thumb thimble.
You keep your hands to yourself.
That's darn right. I didn't know what was wrong because this was a really, a really sick and really stubborn. And antibiotics weren't working. And I called them. I called the Japanese film company and asked if either one of those two guys got sick. And they said no, they didn't get sick. And I went and reviewed the footage, and there it was because I was filming it very close range. That is something I did right, was to film.
Almost like it wasn't from this world.
Yeah. I thought about that.
Yeah.
I tried to go up to the Lair, and they wouldn't let me. I was under their employ.
Huh.
And that night we got visited. And they woke me up and they said, MK, we hear something out there. Only one of them could talk English, but he told me that. And they bought a bell. They asked me, what do you buy to keep a bear from, attacking you? I said, well, get a bell. And I was thinking jingle bell tied to your backpack, But they got a bicycle bell that works with your thumb. It's got a spring in it. And they rang that thing all night long. So whatever it was was not afraid of that bell. It came to that bell. And I got the flashlight and I just took off running straight for it. And they started screaming and hollering. And they wanted me to come back right then because they didn't know the way out. You know, they were afraid that something happened to me, they couldn't get out, which was reasonable. I had to go back. But man, was I set up for some misery.
All right, so let's head to the creek, and then we're going to take some questions.
All right.
I think this is great footage. Also, I mean, you guys had this trip was like amazing. You caught a lot of great evidence, and finding the culvert is huge.
Now, I think I need to go back to. Oh, hold on. I need to go back to the Aniston.
Mr. Marriott, what's your thoughts on everything that these guys are doing on this trip? What they're seeing, what they're finding?
It was pretty amazing. You know, I kind of looked to what the evidence that they were looking at there, and Don and I have we were in Nebraska and saw some of the possible evidence of it, of a very large human. Let me put it that way, where we had trees that were bent, and in the diameter of these trees were like 9 inches. And the height of it that it was bent on this point in particular was about 12 foot up where it got started. It was bent into a 90 and went about 6 foot, then turned to the right on another 90. I'm just like, what in the world? So, I mean, even if that happened when it was a younger tree, the height of it, you'd have to be on a ladder to be able to even do it if you could. And so I see all of this evidence they're coming up with the prints and the markings on the trees and then the pictures also of you know, a shoulder and an arm of apparently something that's got hair on it. I want to go to Bluff Creek.
Yeah, I do too. For sure.
I know a lot about Nebraska. I've been there quite a bit down in those breaks, and I got bit by snakes there. But anyway, when Don was with me, I found a deer skin that had been tore off, like you grab behind the neck on a deer back, and tore it clear off the back end of it, and about 3 feet long, and it was all covered with wood ticks. Well, this was there were 3 guys, count myself, and we all agreed that was just something that physically you can't do unless you're Charles Atlas or somebody. You know, you just don't tear a hide off a deer.
Super strength.
I didn't bring it out, and I should have, but I couldn't. The wood ticks were so thick we left it there. But also the trees he mentions were sometimes 15, 20 feet high. And there was also some pattern work to it. Pattern work was not too. It's hard to explain this to anybody, but I won't go into detail. But it was very telltale of what they're thinking about. So it wasn't very good thinking.
Now this right here is in the lair. These bones were broken. You see how that one's broken?
Mm-hmm.
It's hollow inside. It
marrow
was a deer carcass.
They ate the marrow, bone marrow.
This is a track going up out of the lair. That's probably that one. He probably went out when I came in.
So you guys more than likely walked up on whatever was there.
Yeah, he's probably in there chewing on a bone or something. That's another. I got too close to the track on this one. There's Ken looking at it, and that's Don coming into the entrance to the lair. Waterfall. Darn that waterfall.
Well, I fell 50 feet off the cliff up there and broke my shoulder. MK was going down with me too. He got into a bush.
I managed to stop my slide. I couldn't reach you, Don. I tried.
I got on the only place in the
You're
canyon
doing
where
something.
it wouldn't kill you. I fell in the one spot.
Oh, the water.
There's some more of them.
More bones.
They're like in a nice little neat pile, or did you guys pile them up like that?
That pile of bones,
We piled them up.
I found them in Montana the same way in Idaho. And they pile the bones according to size, and also what the reason is it's a telltale story for their own kind.
Some of that deer was still articulated, still connected with ligaments.
It looks like there's a print under there. It looks like the heel's right there at the end, and all the bones are on top of the print.
I don't know. It might have been a rock.
Mm.
I don't know. When you kick a rock out, it kind of
Yeah, no, I got you. All right.
This is a still shot. There goes my alarm again. Hold on. I went to water school today, and I ate too much food. That's an alarm.
Yeah, sugar problems.
Diabetes.
He's not too healthy.
Right. That ought to keep it quiet for a little while. All right. Let's see what we can see right there. Well,
can we go to the right side?
All right. So where's everybody in this picture? You're up front.
There it is. They had not come down yet. That's what I was doing. I come out ahead of them. They were busy taking care of their feet, and I just went on down the mountain. Me and gravity. I slid on my butt a lot of it. And I came down this left side of the creek. I had a view of the creek. There's a trail back there. And I came back out into the creek and was going to film them when they came up the creek. But I didn't see this right here on the right. There it is again.
Here, I'm going to put it solo here so we get it.
I don't. Oh, what are you going to need?
There I am 7 years later. I'm looking at it for the first time.
Can you zoom in a little bit more, MK?
Yeah, I can do that. I can do this right here. Hold on. Use a little bit of filtration here.
He's so good with his.
Like you've used that before, huh?
Holding
See, this right here looks like salmon harpoons. It's got cord on it.
Yeah.
Wrapped around it. And see how skinny and narrow that is in the end of the stick?
And it'll show up better too.
Yeah, let me come back over here. There you came. And Don came up right over on the other side of these bushes and sat down eating an apple. There he is. Now he's looking at something. Something has caught his attention. Copy. I'm going to show you something. You can see what it is. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to isolate this shadow, these deep shadows. Oh, well, I did the whole picture. I'll do it again. Now you can start to see up in the shadows a little bit. I'll just do it like this. Hold on. You start to see fingers that are laying on a log.
You can see a hand.
Yeah.
Hard to see in that light.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Two sets like this.
Like Kilroy was here.
Yeah, it's up in them up in them bushes, laying down behind that log with his hand up there.
Hot dog fingers. Look at the size of them things.
Great big things. Don must have heard it or smelled it or something because he looked over there at it.
It had fingers and thumb both. A thumb also a post thumb.
Yeah, okay, that's I see that.
Yeah, you
That's
can
very
see it
important to get that understood. That's a post, fingers and thumbs.
like this.
Monkeys don't have that.
Where am I? It's like looks just like that. That's pretty cool. Do you have the video of the one beating the whatever it was on the rock?
Beating something on the rock.
Yeah, wasn't it? Didn't have like a towel in its hand or something?
Yeah, I do have that. Yeah. Hold on.
But that's pretty. Did you hear anything, Don? Did you smell anything at that moment?
I heard something. The smell. I hardly ever experienced smells too much in myself. Have had it happen, but not like they describe it very much. I've had many encounters with these things. Well, enough, in caves and so on. But I've even been close to one urinating one time. But that's another story. But it wasn't very far away. And
let me get go somewhere else and get a better.
Do you think that was the one that was between you all, and that's where it hid when Ken and Don came down?
I feel like it had something to do with that fetus, because that fetus came to us from upstream, in that direction. So whatever, it could have had. I don't know what kind of fetuses salmon have. Maybe they don't. They lay eggs.
Well, you want to tell me, MK, we saw those creatures down below us a quarter of a mile away. Didn't know what they were. We went down to find out, and they waited for us to come down the mountain. And Ken and I came down there, and they were still there. We couldn't tell from the distance what they were, campers or what they were. I remember telling you that, what the heck's down there, and let's go find out. We was going to go back that way anyway. But those creatures allowed us to come back to that camp, and they knew us. I'm sure they knew us before because we've been there more than one time.
And blankets. And
okay. This is almost exclusive work on that. See.
They get to know you.
Ken, nothing popped up to you though. You didn't notice. You were the second one through. Nothing grabbed your attention on your way through?
No, it did not. But when you're walking up the creek like that, and I'm half clumsy as it is, you're watching where you step, what's going on. So that's your focal point in the lane ahead of you in the water. And there could be a deer standing 10 feet off to your left in the brush, just froze. If you didn't look at it directly and see it, you just walk on by. You wouldn't know it was there.
No. Gotcha. Kind of like a waterfall.
Okay, there he is.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you can see him moving right there. Whatever he's slapping.
I thought it was real odd. My first thought was, well, maybe it was Ken. But then there he is sitting down, and he's across the creek from his car, or from our car. So I know Ken wouldn't do that. He would go on the other side, so that he wouldn't have to walk back across the creek to get to the vehicle. I thought it was odd when I first saw it. Then I asked him, you got a limit on how much these guys will take questioning them. You know, I would never be a lawyer.
Good for you, MK.
Tell them about the flowers you found in the windshield one time.
Can you zoom in on that creek thing before we move on?
We came back to the car and had
I
flowers.
don't
on
think
the
I
windshield.
can on this one because it's a video.
I don't know what- I don't know.
I got some I can. Hold on here. I got some animation here. Filter. I can zoom in on this.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
There it is. That's a baby should have shit. And I'm right here.
You can see the hair on its leg. I mean, fur or whatever it is. Look at that. What's it doing?
It's trying to hide his face.
And you guys didn't see anybody else there the whole time you were there. You guys were the only ones at that.
Oh, there
point?
wasn't no other vehicles or anything. You know,
Yeah.
if he'd have had to walk in.
You're many miles from people up in that country. You're not in that neighborhood, you know.
When
Yep.
you get up on one of the ridges where the Forest Circus has their gates, in 2012, they didn't undo the locks when they were supposed to, and MK and I it was a 4.5 mile hike down into that bottom country like that. No, people don't just casually walk by.
During the forest fire season, MK and I also went there too one time, and we had fires going around us. Things
Yeah.
happen.
Let me
The
tell you
forest
what,
fire-
that made me nervous.
Yeah, the
You can
forest
see
fire guy saw
ashes
Sasquatch
falling.
was running out ahead of us.
Yeah. That is some awesome footage right there. All right, I'm going to bring us all back in. We're going to get away from the videos.
All right.
We'll get us all back on stage. Thank you for sharing those.
All right.
All right. So you did a trip to Bluff Creek and you caught more than most people would ever catch in a lifetime. Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think the chemistry was so good with the three of you on this expedition? And why do you think the Sasquatch came so close?
I would tend to think part of it is, I know all three of us, when we were out, that your thought process, we're trying to always constant think or project that we're not here to hurt anybody. We don't want to disturb you. We're just kind of wandering around. Don't bother us. We won't bother you. We're just here visiting and not trying to disrupt your home. There's no menacing thoughts or, oh, we're hunting, that type of a thing. I'm all the stuff I've heard and observed over the years, I think that counts a tremendous amount. There's been many, many stories of people all over Canada, the US, different parts of the world. When they go out someplace, all of a sudden it'll be deathly quiet. And this could be like a 6'4" Navy SEAL, and he just gets a fear factor projected on him. That's like a sixth sense. And I can't say for sure, but you see enough of it and it forms a pattern. But try to think good thoughts. Try to be neighborly, be friendly. And I think that can be picked up on. I can't prove it, but I certainly believe it.
Well, you're burning that tobacco. Might have been, a real significant thing too.
Right. Because some of the hoopas, when MK and I talked to him in 2012, when they were there at one of their monthly tribal powwows or gathering to discuss business for the tribes and stuff, talking with them, they had said that, 100 plus years ago, they used to trade with them, but they were liar and cheats and they'd steal stuff. And so they kind of quit. And a lot of that in history goes back the same way.
Oh, your thoughts is what they refer to that these days is called quantum entanglement. You are projecting that like it's already happened. That's the way it is, and you're putting that out there, and they're receiving that, and you're living it. So, I think that's the way to do it myself. So, I agree with you.
Later on, we'll get time. Don and I went back in 2021, and we found 2 memorials built on the side of these roads way back in the woods.
Very
And
strange, yeah.
they went through a lot of trouble, and just a hunch, but there were 3 people missing back in there, and no one found them. And I feel like that it's connected some kind of way.
I won't take people with me who are pro-kill. I won't even allow them with me on any expedition. And I'm very fussy who we take and tell where we went, because we don't want people back there for no reason. They get to know us. I carry a sidearm, but it's not for them. And they know that too. And there's pictures out there of us with weapons, but we don't ever get them out to use them. And
again, they feel that what you're doing, they know your intention, and that's.
Well, I feel that 100%.
In 2012, when MK and I hiked down there that 4.5 miles, we set up a little camp and camped out. We slept out overnight like that. And MK mentioned to me, he says, if one come walking by, you'd invite him into the camp, wouldn't you? I says, of course. I would share whatever I had with him. And we've left stuff before. We've left food items, peanut butter jars. Don and MK have left blankets. Bluff Creek. And to be friendly, to be neighborly, to project goodwill, I guess you could say. We're not here to hurt you. We're just here to look.
MK and I carried up the mountain all the way up there past the Lair, clear up the top of the mountain, blankets and food and pictures. We put them on the trees, posters of Patterson's film.
Diane Fowler, that was 2008.
Yeah, and it was very quite an event. One day I got a phone call. I was in Nevada exploring, and I had a phone call from a bear hunter who was for the timber companies. He wanted to know if I knew who put the pictures up on the mountain tree and the blankets and that kind of stuff. And he says, I thought about you, Don. So I called you up. I said, well, we're the ones, all right. But he said, how'd you find them? He says, 2 forest rangers seen the trees that had pictures on them and wanted to know who in the heck put them up there. And this guy who called me was a renowned bear hunter for the timber companies to kill all bears he could. Bears destroy the trees sometimes, in their opinion, and they want them all killed, and I'm against that too. I've been a bear hunter myself for many years for reasons that for sport and call it that. But I understand.
I'm much more in danger from myself. I don't know how I get out of it. I'm like Mr. Magoo. I just stumble into things and luckily escape.
Well, mountain lions follow you around every time you go somewhere.
Yeah,
we got mountain lion tracks behind you.
Circle me.
It must be what you eat.
All right. So, what does everybody got planned coming up here in the future, near future? Where do you guys go? And we'll let you guys get on with your night. Excuse me, Ken. We'll start with you.
In my case, I'm going to tell you this: I'm always on it. It's every time I turn around, I'm going somewhere because I just do. And I can't tell you. I'm going now to up in northern Montana next week to see the wall up there called the Sage Wall. And it's not just Sasquatch we're into. You meet many things. It's an interesting thing along the way, And I've got many films of snapshots of things that no one's ever seen, and animals too that can't be identified.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don?
it would probably be tagging along if I could help out a couple of really good best friends, Don and MK and Don. To get out, support, and go along with them.
How about you, Mr. Mariano?
We don't have a lot of interference with guys who are adopted into our group are always just as good as we are or better. Equal thinkers. They got a lot of input.
Yeah, we hadn't always been so lucky on our choices. Don't forget Harl.
Well, you're the one that made the decision on some of them worse than him.
Oh, no, don't blame me. Harl overheard us talking.
I had to take Harl out to the highway and turn him loose.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for accepting me into all this. We got a we're planning a trip next year. We're not going to really talk too much about it yet, but we might be heading somewhere that's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
We
we
couldn't
have
do it.
in Idaho and Montana many places here to go, and I can't help but to tell you, we know a number of places that are absolutely incredible, and no one goes there.
All right. Well, I want to just say thank you all for being part of the show tonight. Everybody had a great time. We went over 45 minutes over the thing, so it was definitely worth it. Oh, look at Chip's getting an applause here. Diane.
Well, see Chip's girlfriend. You'll be on the next show.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ken, for making the trip down and being on the show.
Most welcome.
I appreciate that. And Don, I appreciate you having everybody at your place. And Don Monroe, I appreciate your friendship.
We're at Don Marriott's house right now, really, what we're at, but it's down the street. But you know,
right. And MK, of course, hustled back 2-hour drive to make it here tonight. So I appreciate all of you guys. So it makes you good friends like this, and it just makes everything easier. And you don't have to think twice about where you're headed or what you're doing when you're involved with people like yourself. So I want to say thank you about that.
There's still a few holes in the wall where a guy can crawl.
Yeah. Well, you being 104 years old and still crawling in caves.
I made it to 70. I guess that's far enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, so everybody said great show, great guests. Everybody's still saying that. So I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody, and then I'm gonna put you backstage, and then I'll be back shortly to say goodnight.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Let's get her done.
And all the viewers. Thank you.
Right. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Don Monroe, Don Marriott, Ken Iddins, and Mr. MK Davis. Thank you, guys. All right. Well, what a show. Unbelievable footage, unbelievable guys. We will definitely do another Mutt and Jeff adventure. I mean, these guys are great. I think maybe next time we'll go back to Lovelock again. And I was actually very honored that Don Monroe gave me the original casting from Lovelock Cave, and I have the handprint in my possession, and it's one of the gifts I've received from him, and I'm very thankful for that. And we are going to do a to-do on that and have these guys all involved with it. Little documentary down the road. Next week, I have Mr. Carl Supp. He will be our guest, and Carl knows everybody that was on the panel tonight. And Carl's involved in another project that we got going. We are going to be doing a documentary on the Sells property in Texas, and that starts this week with 2 of the original investigators from the property and a ton of evidence and stuff like that. So that's in the work. I didn't give away the book tonight because I messed up with the comment section. So if you want an autographed book from our friend that was here 2 weeks ago, Mr. Frank Santoriga, just put the number 104 in the comment section and say thank you, Don. And that's how you get to enter the autographed copy of the book, and you'll get to win it next week. So again, I appreciate all of you. I love you. God bless you all. And as our friend Larry says, get in the woods, people.